All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for JoJo's
Bizarre Adventure, episode 10. Now, this is the first episode
This
after
episode-
JoJo died.
Yes, this episode in the title has something very interesting.
It does, doesn't
and
it?
I'm okay with us watching, stuff like this where unfortunately, the title is going to lead a little bit on into the story and what have you,
Sure.
but we're not going to be focusing on discussion prior to the episode. We're going to discuss
Exactly.
after the episode.
That's right.
So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't get too, explicit when it comes to, like,
Right.
twists or something.
Yes.
But this could be exciting. A
I
new
think it will
generation.
be. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and potentially New York as well.
Right.
Is the place that we're landing.
So
in.
this is already giving me Bakano vibes.
Yeah, me too. All right, let's get into this episode and see what happens.
That's right. Wow, I love the new look for Speedwagon.
That's fantastic.
He's an oil tycoon? Of course he is. Wow.
Oh, Speedwagon.
Yeah, this is great seeing Speedwagon as an older fellow.
49 years.
Wow.
That is kind of creepy looking.
Yeah, just a bit.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Oh, this is JoJo's son.
Yes. But it's 50 years later.
Oh, smooth. Oh. Creepy cops.
Gotcha. So he's gonna do the good thing and save the kid that robbed him from the.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Okay.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Oh, here we go.
なんていうか、ですね。その財布は私が彼にあげたものです。
Nice. Still 195 centimeters giant. Yeah.
この俺をかばったんだ。だからその。
All right, I like the suave
Oh, yeah.
nature of this guy.
Oh yeah.
確かにあげたんですよ。
He has so much more presence than either his father or grandfather.
Oh! What the hell, dude? That's disgusting.
聞いていいか。わからんのだ。なんだ。行為にどんな意味があるって言うんだ。
Oh! Oh! Oh!
Well, technically, he wasn't being arrested yet.
Oh my gosh.
So he's okay.
He's nothing like
He's a
JoJo.
delinquent.
Right.
Okay.
No way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my
No way.
gosh.
He's gonna break his finger. Wow.
Oh! Oh my god!
And then he just drinks it. Okay.
Oh, he's too cool.
Yeah.
He's so self-aware.
Yeah. Granny Arena. Okay, so he's his grandson. All right.
Okay.
Oh, so Arina's probably like really feisty at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Like she's going to tan his hide. He didn't have a mom either. Interesting.
Joestar. Joseph Joestar.
Joseph.
Joestar.
So it's still JoJo.
この柱に彫られているこの男は一体彫刻ではない。こいつにはアミノ酸がある、細胞がある。
What?
微妙ながら体温がある。
Wait, how can they tell that?
Yeah.
Speedwagon's power of observation is too good.
Are you robbing me?
Then who cares about me? Can a guy read his comics in peace?
Yep. You done goofed.
You ruined my suit.
I love how Speedwagon's telling him to calm down, you know?
Right.
Whoa.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
All right.
He just killed him. Or something.
Something.
Yeah.
I like this Joseph guy. Okay. So are they already thinking that he might be the one person that can stop this figure here?
No.
Yes, we can see that. Wow, okay. Wait. No way. They did.
No, Speedwagon.
They are not killing Speedwagon.
Oh, no way. Those guys are dead.
Those guys are definitely dead.
I seek to become immortal.
Right. I wouldn't say that.
Ah.
Wow. Okay.
Dio's rippling effect.
Yeah.
Still
Dio's first official
disciple.
Fan. Yeah. Okay.
Crap.
Speedwagons better not die. They better not do that. That's
what
very
kind of an insult is that?
creative at the least.
Oh my gosh. Taxi!
スモーキーさん、あなたも行きましょう。
本当にさ、スピードワゴンはおじいちゃんの親友だったの。ただそれだけ？本当に？
どういうことです？
だってさ、あのじじいは独身だよ。おばあちゃんもずっと未亡人。本当にそれだけの仲なのかなと思ったり。
You're about to get smacked, Joseph. Yep. You're right, Erda is spunk. What the? What?
Okay, he's eating spaghetti, but like.
お客様、この店ではいかなるお客様でも料金さえ払っていただければ料理をお出しいたします。
Burn.
Oh my gosh, yes. The pose.
おばあちゃん、まさか止めんじゃないでしょ。
No, she's gonna give him tips on where to hit him.
個人の主義や主張は勝手。許せないのは私どもの友人
Yes.
公然と侮辱。
Unforgivable.
Yes.
他の
Kick his ass. Yeah. But mind to the other customers. I love it. Oh, that's great.
Erda, you're amazing.
一体どこ殴ってんだよ。
Oh my gosh! This guy is
Holy crap!
This guy is.
I love that. I can predict. And they're just applauding. They're just like, "Yay! Great show!"
Yes. Oh.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, is she well known among the mafia?
Oh. Speedwagon has some influence. Holy
he does,
crap.
yeah.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
No! Say it ain't so, Joe!
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Holy crap, how do they know all this stuff?
Yeah, no one would have seen it.
Oh, because he went with Tibetan monks to a place and they found all the
sure.
bodies of the Tibetan monks. Yeah,
Except
but they
for
didn't,
one other
except for
person.
one of them, yeah. Right. It's a pretty logical conclusion.
Yeah.
If they found all the bodies. But one of the things they could say is they didn't find all the bodies, you know. So.
Right.
多分スピードワゴンさんがかつて話してくれたフィッシ
So
ュ仮面
quiet.
とディオ
Mm-hmm.
それにまつわること
She is
のよ
old
うな
after
気
all.
がする
いくら真実とはいえそんな最悪の情報をイリナおばあちゃんにいきなり聞かせたのは許せねえ怯えさせて悲しませちまったじゃねえかこのバカタレが
Was maybe a little bit uncalled for, but yeah.
50年前のことが未だに続いている
Yeah.
怖いのかおばあちゃん俺が守ってやる
違うジョゼフお前のことだよお前が巻き込まれていく運命のことが怖いのです
Yeah.
大丈夫だよそれが運命なら
If it's my fate, I accept it. I love it.
さてどこかで見たことがあるようなないようなあんた
Who is
以前どっか
this?
で
Why is he
会ったこと
giving me
ない
Dio vibes?
Yeah, same.
ねえなんでこんなに寒いのに白い息が出ないんだ
Yep.
そして
Undead.
あんた今ちらーっと口の中に牙が見えたような街中だろうが構わん
Is he already back from
I guess.
Mexico?
目覚めうちになはあそうかい
Oh my god! That is just great!
分かっていたがこれほどと街中でいきなりどこから手に入れたのかトンプソン機関銃をぶっ放した
And Tommy guns can have like 600 rounds in them, so
Yeah.
he unloading into him for a long time.
ストレイツを来るのを待ってたぜ
He knows who it
Okay.
様
is?
が死ぬとは思わねえがスピードワゴンじいさんの仇
Wow.
宣戦布告だぜ
Here we go!
Yes. That
Oh my gosh.
that might be my favorite episode so far.
Oh, I don't know if
Like-
it's my favorite episode, but that's
That was-
one of the best JoJo's episodes
that
we've
was
seen.
so good. Like, they so good.
Well, the thing is that they started off everything kind of setting the pace for everything, but also
Yes.
just kicking it off right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
I am almost surprised they're doing this because I'm wondering, wait, how can they keep the story going? Like, long. Like, with
Yeah.
this. And the fact
Well-
that they brought up that bit with there being multiple masks in the
Yep.
in the archaeological dig that Speedwagon found
Mm-hmm.
means that there's a huge problem with that place existing.
Right.
And one of the problems is that they don't know where this place is now.
That's true. So
So-
we need to figure that out. And I like the way they set this up because they set up Strizo as sort of the immediate villain. And what a way to introduce him as a villain, like have him kill Speedwagon.
Jeez,
Bastard.
Speedwagon's
Like-
dead.
Like
we
that.
There's so many things they could have done. It's been 50 years, and he could have come back and be like a great uncle to this guy.
I was so looking forward to that. Like,
and Erina and him could have shared stories of what it was like back in the days. Yeah. And now we don't get
dead.
that. Like, it's a funny thing how, like, he could be alive. Here's one of the crazy things.
Yes, because JoJo's has done crazier things.
But here's the thing. Mm-hmm. He could have been left for dead. Okay,
right.
And they found the bodies of Speedwagon.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But Speedwagon could have done something with a mask in his final moments.
That's true.
I don't think they're going to, but we can't
but,
rule that possibility out. There is there's a bigger than 0% chance
absolutely.
Of that being the case.
They have had people with decapitated heads still be alive for a while. So that's possible.
Sliced in half, like,
right.
Completely.
Yeah. So
push themselves back together. Okay, now, but Rule of Cool
absolute
was just
rule of
up
cool.
To the millionth degree.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I love that they are giving Joseph such a distinct personality.
Yes.
The biggest problem I would say with Jonathan was that he was kind of a vanilla character.
Yeah,
now,
he was even a little bit blender than vanilla at some parts. He was pretty cardboard cut out.
And they still told a great story. You know, usually it was because of his interactions with Dio. But
with the other characters.
With the other characters,
yeah.
Right. But I love that they're making it so that this Joseph can hold his own so much and just steal the spotlight when he's on screen.
He really does steal the spotlight. Like, here's something that's kind of interesting about this. Joseph has a charisma, but he isn't taking it as seriously as he could be with his level of charisma.
Sure.
So what it does is it feels a little bit self-aware that the show realizes how ridiculous it is.
Right.
And the main character in this one, is ridiculous in how over the top he is, but he backs it up. Yeah. He actually can do the things that he's kind of bragging about. He can take Hamon, channel it into a Coke bottle, shoot a cap off,
to break someone's
He literally
finger.
Busted a cap on this guy's finger. That's like next level memeage right there.
Oh, yeah.
I can see how this show got really popular with social media, because if this came out in 2011, right, everything's in full swing. You have like the second arc of the story being about this guy who is like a champion of the week, but he also like is a bad boy, and he comes in and he's like, hey, you're kind of causing problems and stuff here, so I'm going to...
Yeah, he's a little bit of an asshole, but just enough, not too much.
Right, not too much.
Yeah.
The fact that he just is extremely connected to his grandma.
I love that.
Calls her Granny. Granny Erina.
And I love that she's like, she reminds me of the grandma from Summer Wars now. Like,
sure.
Like almost like that mafia, like do it, but just mind the other customer.
Right. Don't dirty your suit in the meantime. Right, yeah. Like, the fact when they're in the plane and he's like, you got blood on my suit. And Speedwagon's like, no, they didn't. They just dirtied the suit. It was a gift from Erina. Oh, no.
And then he's telling Joseph, like, Joseph, just calm down. When the guys are right there with their gun.
And he killed that guy.
Oh yeah.
He killed everyone in the plane, I think, because
Well, I mean, it was a small plane. I think it was just them on it.
I know, but there were 3 people that he basically just says, "No, you're all dead."
Yeah.
Dead. He cooked someone's brain with ham on. I don't know if he was unconscious, but I think they used his body in conjunction with the seats as a cushion for their fall. So he's pretty much dead.
Yeah.
As well as the 2 other ones that went down in the plane.
Right. Now,
I'm just surprised by how much death they had in the first episode.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
If you think about it from the first kind of arc with
no one
Jonathan,
died. Like, no one really died.
Everyone was either immortal, undead, or they were human and they couldn't die unless they were Zeppeli.
Right. Like, unless they had a plot reason to die, there was no way that they could die. Like they could get wounded in some crazy way or whatever, but they would still make it out okay.
Right, but there were no humans really dying other than Zeppeli because I mean I get that yes, Jonathan died.
As Tamon. Well, yeah, and he died.
He made the ultimate sacrifice to stop Dio.
Right.
But his was more monumental. This was casual.
Right.
Like
exactly.
This is a casual moment in the premiere of the story where they're like, these guys, these punks, just kill them.
Dead.
Also, the bit with the beginning and the cops and stuff. I get that this is like pseudo prohibition era, but this is like 1937, I think.
1938 was what they said.
1938. Yeah. Okay.
Right before World War II.
So this is like right before World War II.
Yeah.
They're in the U.S. I'm wondering, like, is this a story that just is trying to weave its way through specific historical events, so it has some semblance of historical accuracy, but then it's putting these ridiculous characters in these really like important real-time events, and then just seeing how crazy things can get.
Here's two things I would love to see because of the time period.
Right.
I would love to see there being something where like the Joestar family like being like an important like player in World War II. Like like that could be kind of fun, but here's the other thing that will make you smile, even though you'll be completely like no way.
I know what you're gonna say.
I would love to see like Isaac or Miria in the background of like one of the scenes. I know it's not gonna happen, and like, but like, just
dream
that
on,
Easter egg.
Dream on.
I will.
But okay, so the main characters that we have is of course Joseph Joestar,
right?
The grandson of
Smokey is kind of the new Speedwagon.
Yes, and I think it's cool that they're mirroring a better version of Dio that they're adopting. It's someone that was kind of down on their luck and not in a great situation, and effectively Smokey is the kid that they're bringing into their family, into their fold.
Yes. Yep.
But it's a way better situation.
Yep.
It's not. It's not some evil sadistic bastard that
like well said.
Kicks puppies and stuff.
Right.
It's a regular guy who you know was probably down on his luck from the Great Depression stuff that happened with his family or something. Like you don't know because literally, like 7-8 years ago, there was a lot of people that just starved to death during the Great Depression and stuff. So people like this in Smokey's situation makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah,
especially in the bigger cities.
So they, the people in the comments were always saying like, okay, the first part is kind of the worst, but were you expecting anything like this? Like, because I know I wasn't. Like, I was expecting like, okay, yeah, the first part, isn't the best, because maybe it's, a bit cheesy and stuff like that, but...
Well, I don't know what I expected, but the more and more I thought about it after we watched the previous episode, I kind of thought, okay, this was a prologue.
Right, yeah.
But, the more and more I'm watching, I'm more and more thinking about this episode after I've watched it. I'm looking at the two parts and I'm going, okay, so that was an arc, that was a section of story, and now we're in the next section of story. Is every story going to have like some specific type of time jump of some kind, or is this the main character? Because I actually kind of want there to be a lot of time focused on this character.
Yes, me too.
But I feel like the fact that they went through that much in one episode,
right? It doesn't scale to the fact that there's over 100 episodes of this. So,
right. So I don't think that the next few episodes are going to be as breakneck pacing.
Yeah, probably not.
Like maybe this next episode will be just the fight.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean they're probably going to do another thing like this with like what they did with John.
Yeah, I could see them spending another 25, 30 episodes, like maybe actually doing a really long story with this guy.
Sure. Yeah.
He's not in a situation where he has potentially just one villain that's the great evil that must be destroyed.
Right.
In this one, there could be the stuff that happens in New York, but then it all eventually ties its way back to this same place, and it's a come full circle kind of story. Yep. And his story ends in the cave. And here's a crazy thought. This is the bizarre adventure part of me trying to predict this here, because I know we can't really predict much of anything without being lucky. Joseph has the generation skip in that he's not like Jonathan.
Yes.
So I think that's intentional. The fact that he's a grandchild, the fact that they didn't do a 20-year time jump or something and had it be the kid, is because they're trying to separate the way this story is going to go from the Jonathan version of the story.
Absolutely.
I could see him actually going in and being a person that tries to use the mask. Like, he uses the power that
would be crazy.
That JoJo, the original JoJo,
I don't
rejected.
I don't think they're going to do that, though, because I feel like after they resolve like this arc, and not necessarily just like the bit with Strizo, but I get the feeling that the person that was apparently alive, in there, is going to get woken up, and then he's going to be like the final boss,
true bad.
Yeah, the true bad.
I could see him actually being a bigger bad that actually like is too much for
Joseph,
yeah.
Okay.
Because I think Joseph is going to go through a similar thing where he'll end up having to train his raw hammer capabilities.
Absolutely.
Here's a crazy thought, though, Jacob. I think the reason why Joseph can just naturally use his Hamon is because he now has Zeppeli's energy flowing within him.
Nice.
And he is able to basically call upon subconsciously the training through which he did more naturally than someone like...
Sure.
Even more naturally than someone like Jonathan did. Right. Jonathan figured it out instantly.
Right away, yeah.
But he didn't even need to have someone explain it to him to figure it out. He's already just doing it.
And I really like that idea. I hope they play on that at least a little bit more.
Right.
Because that's basically another way that they can reference the previous characters that have come in this show. Yes. And that's what'll make this story feel that much bigger and more like epic.
I feel like that's the thing that this story is going to have. It will have more value to those that have watched it longer, because I feel like those types of things are going to stack up over time, even more so. Like, this is just the beginning. The actions of Joseph here, I feel like, are going to have even more ramifications longer down the road.
Sure.
It's going to be the thing of how much time does this story encapsulate? And I feel like it's going to encapsulate quite a lot, given that they just jumped 50 years like it was nothing.
Sure.
So I don't know. Like, could you see, like, at some point in the future we have, like, aliens and stuff?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because if they... Okay.
I could see it. I could see it happening.
If they spent, like, 30, even 40 episodes, right, on Joseph...
Right.
And then they go to, like, Joseph's grandchild, right? So then they skip another 50 years. They could do...
around the time when we were born, basically.
Right. They could do it around the time we were born. But then if they did, like, that again, they could actually, like...
Good grief.
Oh, boy.
Well, I don't think that they'll necessarily do that. I think what would be cool is to form more of the, like, the direct influences of Joseph's actions instead of it being the indirect ones of Jonathan's actions.
Yeah.
So let's say Joseph ends up having friends, getting into a relationship. Even he has kids. That whole close-knit family of the Joestars will become like a group. Like, they'll become a known group, and it'll become this thing where...
An empire, almost.
Not an empire necessarily, because I don't think he's a power-hungry person.
No, but it's,
But kind of like...
This Hamon technique has been passed down.
But no, it's in their blood. They had an estate. They had a very powerful family that they were attached to, a very powerful name.
Yep.
They were basically nobles.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I could see that being the next step in where they end up having some kind of family business. They end up bringing a bunch more people into it that aren't necessarily Joestars. Yeah. And those people end up basically kind of carrying on the plot to being more about the family rather than the specific character of Joseph. Because I feel like Joseph could carry this story for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like because this is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, he doesn't have to.
Right.
But one of the things that's scary about this is that are we going to look for a similar pattern to where Joseph is going to die, like in 10 episodes or so?
Possibly. I
think he'll last longer.
Yeah, I think he'll at least last longer, and I don't think they'll do that because it's something they've already done.
Right.
Like, the way they set this up to be so completely different from what came before, even though there are the little similarities.
There are little similarities. It's kind of cool because it feels like more of the JoJo's theme rather than an actual story convention.
Sure. Yeah.
Storytelling convention.
Yeah. Right.
Do you feel like Strizo is going to be a big antagonist for Joseph, or do you think he's going to go out like a punk in an episode or two?
Not necessarily in an episode or two, but like I think what they basically did here is that like I'm on board with what you think that, you know, Joseph will be around for at least like 20-30 episodes or something like that, and taking that into account, maybe they basically set up the whole outline for the story like in broad strokes right here, where Strizo's going to be the villain for like 10 episodes or something, something more similar to what it was with Dio, and then this other figure, you know, with the hair that's in the stone or whatever.
He's going to be the Kickstarter into future villains because of all the masks.
Yeah. I
think we need to learn more actually about what the mask is, because the mask...
and we probably will once that guy wakes up.
It's a good point, because now that I think about it, the mask being in Egypt is really interesting, because the mask...
Right, because the actual cave or whatever was in, like, Mexico.
But here's a good point. Mm-hmm. The mask could not, logically, through what we know of human history, it could not have traveled from this place in Mexico to Egypt by conventional means. There was no transportation even possible to cross the Atlantic, for one. The land strait that goes across in between Alaska and northeastern Asia was a thing thousands and thousands of years ago. But the question is, did someone travel through there? See, I'm going far deep into this here. If the mask is a thing that is in tons of old cultures, like old tombs and relics and things like that.
Is it actually alien?
Is it actually alien? Because here's the thing.
That would be cool.
I think that they're going in this direction. I think that the mask is tied to something about, like, the origins of humanity.
Sure, okay.
And that's how this story can go, like, so big and so epic and so bizarre.
Yeah, that's a way they can have it so that they are not having it be the same, just like, oh, there's more vampires now or something like that. Instead, they can, but
because it unlocks human potential, not just
unlocks human potential. Yes, that's a very important distinction.
Yes,
but at the same time, they will be not sweeping it under the rug. They can keep it moving forward and say, like, no, you actually didn't get it. It just turned Dio into a vampire and did all that stuff because it was that mask, or, you know, because of the way that those people were. But actually,
or it's limited by imagination. Here's another thing, in that time, vampires were a very kind of very common folklore legend. Whereas, with regards to, the ancient Egyptians and stuff like that, I don't think they had any folklore as far as I can remember with any of my history classes.
Sure.
Egypt didn't have any stories about vampires. They had more stories about the gods coming in and meddling with man. And that ties into my theory.
Right, because, like, there have been other stories that basically said that's actually aliens, Stargate or, whatever. So, okay, that would be very cool.
I'm just wondering, like, how can we blend anything other than fantasy into this? And I see some very interesting possibilities.
And there are a few reasons why I get really excited about that. One, because that would turn JoJo's into a sci-fi fantasy, theoretically.
Right.
And sci-fi fantasy is awesome.
It is.
See Star Wars. Yeah. But also, what would JoJo aliens look like? how would they do them? Because like
okay, we don't know that they're gonna happen, but let's go back to this episode because that's a great question, but for another time. Erina is a badass.
Oh, absolutely.
She absolutely stole the show every time she spoke.
Oh, sometimes she didn't even have to.
She didn't even have to speak. She just kind of looked at him. Like,
yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, it's a taxi! Yeah, I was getting you a taxi." She's like, "How thoughtful."
Yeah.
It's like she knows.
Oh yeah,
she's not stupid.
And I love that they're changing up her as well because, okay, if
she's
she had
grown, it's been 50 years.
She's
Jacob.
grown. She's gotten tough. Like
she survived the Great Depression. Jacob,
Oh yeah.
With nothing.
And
think about that.
Yep.
Like she went through the Great Depression when she came across the pond, and they had nothing.
Well, Speedwagon was an oil,
but we don't know when that happened.
Sure, but the Great Depression was like not
the Great
too long
Depression
before where
was
they're at right now.
1928 and 29 to 1933.
Right, so it was in
or
the
1932.
Last, right, so it was in the last like 5 to 10 years.
It was about 7 years ago. Yeah.
Right, so they probably would have been pretty established at that point because they would have had 40 years to basically like get set up.
Well, but, yes, I'm just saying that it didn't matter, Jacob. The Great Depression hit everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there was a 5% of people that were prepared that, didn't get hurt as badly.
Right.
But no, when I say like it hit everyone, it hit everyone.
Yeah.
It's just a question of how badly. And I could see them actually being established being a bad thing if you go into the Great Depression because then you're not really counting on something just crazy happening. So
yeah,
it would be interesting to learn about that story at some point, but they cleverly, deftly kind of avoided it by skipping another generation.
Yes.
That's a very interesting thing. Like, do you think that they wanted to do the very immediate generation after that, or do you think that they'll show anything from that previous generation in backstory?
I don't think so. Maybe little
flashback
bits, but not much. Okay. They were very much like the way they said like, oh, and Joseph doesn't have, has no mother, right? Or has no parents. Like the way they basically had those characters that they introduced at the end of the previous episode just be dead and, oh, hey, here's their son,
Right, because 1914, 1918 was World War I, so if they died because of sickness and the war, it could have been at different times, because let's say sickness translates to the Great Depression, and war was actually where the father died.
But they could have done that, and then, that would mean that Joseph could be, 20 to 25.
Well, it fits, actually. He would be 20 to 25 if the father died.
If he died at the very latest in, 1918, then that would mean he'd be 20.
20, right.
Like
if he died in 1915... Well, actually, if they were in the U.S. and he got drafted, he would have had to go over at 1916 because that was when Woodrow Wilson entered into the war.
And
So that would put him at 22 at
bringing
minimum.
math into JoJos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a history person, so I kind of know this.
But like, okay, this is one of the things that gets me really excited though, because if you think about it, the creator Iraqi. Like, how much thought do you think he's put into, like, okay, I want Jonathan to be during this time, I want Joseph to be in this time, and then, whatever comes later, descendants or something like that. I'm gonna put them here, and like,
I don't know. Like, I really get the vibe that this person wanted to blow everyone's minds with just his wacky creativity.
Right.
He's like, I've got all these like ridiculous ideas. I'm gonna write them down and I'm gonna make them gorgeous.
And I'm gonna do them all.
I'm gonna do them all. They're gonna be so over the top. They're gonna be so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there were a lot of moments where Joseph went kind of whole, I'm gonna speak as the audience kind of thing for a second, and he would strike a pose.
Yeah.
Kind of a JoJo pose. He would do kind of the, oh yes.
Well, aren't poses more Dio's thing? Like,
well, I meant like that's a thing for the show.
JoJo's,
right?
yeah. Okay. Like, see, I still think Jonathan when I hear JoJo.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, same, exactly. But I can tell what they're trying to go for is that they have both the same kind of Joe, first name, last name.
So we need to say so one might say that we need to bid Jonathan goodbye, JoJo.
Goodbye, JoJo.
Oh, okay. So I am really excited to see what happens next.
Do you think Dio will come back? I think this is what we predicted, though. We said that he wouldn't be around for a long time.
Right. So I think Dio has to come back at some point, or at the very least, some sort of like something referencing Dio. Like it might not actually be Dio. Maybe it's Dio's ghost. Maybe it's some like if it goes into sci-fi,
Dio's
maybe it's some
soul and he possesses something.
Whatever. But they need to have something where they're like, has Dio returned? Whether it's true or not.
Right. I want to see a thing where this show is about, at least right now, they have the themes of lineage.
Yes.
And I want there to be a thing where, like when Zeppeli died and they showed all the people that, had, been touched by Zeppeli and just kind of the people. I liked that image. Have that kind of be a thing where in one of the fights or in one of the moments, Joseph is beaten and he's at the end of himself.
Yes.
And he has all these kind of spirits of sorts of all these past people that have come before him kind of, comfort him. And I could see that being a really cool thing if this show continues to do a lineage theme.
Yeah.
And say Joseph ends up ending his story with him being kind of one of those spirits that kind of
Yes, that would be awesome.
Because this whole thing with Hamon and life energy and breath, I really love the whole idea of there being an element of reincarnation, but it's not actual reincarnation. It's more like the energy that is within Jonathan could not be destroyed. It merely changed forms.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And have that continue to be a thing moving forward would be, I would say, thematically amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Overall, the animation and kind of what they did with that thing where they changed the color palette, like all of a sudden, they did it very well.
Oh, yes.
Whereas I think it felt a little bit off in other times, even when I was already used to it in part in part one.
It was jarring, not always in a bad way, but it always was like, oh yes, they're doing that thing again. Whereas now it seemed to all just sort of flow together very well.
Right. It feels like they are they're doing a better job at executing their unique style.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as unique because we're now used to it, but that actually adds a little bit of nostalgia value to it because even though we've only watched 10 episodes now, we're always like, hey, there it is.
Yeah, the fact that they can do that, I just want to say that is so amazing because, like, they haven't even gone the full length of a one core show.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And holy hell.
And they actually, to be kind of a little bit rough on part one, they kind of meandered a bit for 2 or 3 episodes.
They did.
So it's been kind of like less than that.
Right. They had a little bit of almost filler in there. So the fact that at this point, like, because we still have over 100 episodes left.
We have, we have a while to go.
Wow.
All right, guys. Well, this has been really fun. If you want to catch the next episode right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon's early access. And get on the Discord with that. It comes with it, and we'd love to chat with you about shows and stuff. And yeah, we'll see y'all later. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.